Hello guys, welcome once again to Victory Design and welcome to our class on JavaScript. Today we're going to delve deeply into a fundamental concept that every JavaScript developer must grasp, like you have to grasp this, and that is what we call comparing values using equality operators. That is why today we're going to, today's topic is what understanding equality in JavaScript. Alright, now this understanding is very crucial because it can help you avoid bugs and unexpected behavior in your code. That is why we are going to go in depth into equality in JavaScript. JavaScript, of course, is a powerful and flexible programming language, but its loose typing system, that is, but JavaScript has a loose typing system. That loose typing system can lead to some confusing scenarios, especially when it comes to equality comparison. So guys, let's break this down and let's break this concept together. Now, first of all, in JavaScript, we have two primary types of equality operators. Whether we have the loose equality, I can see here, and we have the strict equality, which is double equal, this double equal sign. Back that in the previous class, you hear me saying just the normal equal and then the strict equal. So this is what we also call the loose equality, guys. The loose equality, which is equal to like this double equal sign, and then the strict equality, which is the triple equal sign. Now, understanding the difference between these two operators is very essential, guys, when you are trying to write reliable and predictable code, because that is one basic thing in coding. Your code needs to be predictable. What you want to do, you should be able to do that thing. That is when you have a predictable code. So the first thing we'll discuss is what we call the loose equality. Now this loose equality I can see here, that is the double equal sign, checks if two values are equal after converting them to a common type. That means after converting them to the same type, it checks if they are actually equal. Now this process is what we know as type cohesion. That's what it say. It performs type cohesion before comparison, whereby JavaScript automatically converts one or both values to a type that can be compared. It converts them to one type that can be compared. That's why it is called type cohesion. Now when using this loose equality, it follows some rules for type conversion. It follows some rules, guys. It follows some different kind of rules. Of which number one, we have the rule called string and number comparison. String and number comparison, where in which if one operand, or like if one string, or rather if one operand, by operand I mean, let me just give you an example. Operand can be a string. That means if you are trying to compare if 50 is equals to 20, or if you are trying to compare a string of that says tall, a string saying tall, to another string saying short, for example. Now this thing you are seeing here, this one, whether it is this thing, whether it is a string or a number, it is called an operand. So if you hear me say operand, that is what I mean by an operand. Now the first type of cohesion is that it compares a one operand, that if one operand is a string and the other operand is a number. Now looking at this code, guys, this particular code I just did, this operand is a number and this operand is a number. This operand is a string and this operand is a string. Now if it is comparing, let me say I remove this guy now and I put 50 instead. Now if it is comparing, if one operand, which is a string, and the other operand, which is a number, are being compared, JavaScript converts the string to a number. Do you see how funny that is? It converts string to number. It doesn't convert number to strings. It converts strings to number. That is what JavaScript does. So that is how actually cohesion works, or whether conversion actually works. And number two is what? Boolean comparison, right? Boolean comparison, that if either operand is a boolean, that means if this particular place guy is showing either true, let's say here is true, here is true, right? Because true is what? True is a boolean. If either operand is a boolean, That means now we either means if either of them, that means one of them is a boolean, of which now we are now having a true and a number. If either operand is a boolean, JavaScript converts it to a number. That means it now convert this true to become a number. Do you see? Thereby true will now become 1 and false will now become 0. So instead of it now be showing true, now be showing 0 equal to 50. Do you understand, guys? Now initially what you put on your console is true is equal to 50. But then your JavaScript will now convert this true to become 0. And then you now be seeing the comparison of, it's now compare 0 against 50. And of which 0 and 50 are not the same. Although they are the same date, they are the same number data type, they are not the same what, they are not the same character. Okay? And they don't even have the same indexing, or they don't have the same ASCII number. Alright? From our previous class, if you get what I mean. So that is what JavaScript actually does. Alright. And number 3 is that it's now if null is only equal to undefined and both are really equal to each other. Null is only equal to undefined. That means if JavaScript is comparing between null and undefined, they are only equal to each other and they are loosely equal to each other. Alright. And the last of this is the object and primitive comparison. Like when JavaScript is comparing a primitive object, it attempts to convert that primitive object value. Whereby it can either be a string, right, of a value, or a string. It converts them. It converts them to a primitive value. What do I mean? Let me come to my code. Now, if one operand is an object, let's say we have an object, right? An object of let's say a value of and then we put this of, right? Value of, and then we put this guy here, which is already or let's just say let's put an object, okay? Now this particular thing, what I'm trying to do is I was supposed to want to create an object, and JavaScript will now convert that object to a primitive value. Alright, that's what JavaScript does. So guys, let's just look at some examples. Let me just stop beating around the bush and look at some examples, right? Now let's say for example we have a string, right? We have a string. Let's say a string, let's just give it number 1, okay? And they were comparing it with a number, an original number. Okay? Now you might expect that this comparison is going to return false. Maybe guys, you expect that this comparison will return false. Remember guys that coming to our class of earlier on, that when comparing a string and a number, which is this that we have here, which is this guy, this is the string and this is the number. What happens? It converts the string to a number. You see guys, it converts the string into a number. So automatically this string you are seeing here that is saying 1 will become a number. Do you get? So now you might expect that it might return false, but it will return true because the string 1 gets converted into number 1 before the comparison will then take place. So what JavaScript does is that this number, the rule is that it's supposed to convert a string to a number. It's supposed to convert this string to number. So it now become 1 is equal to 1, right? And then as far as converting to be like this, that's okay. Is 1 is equal to 1? Is 1 equal to 1? Of which answer is true? Then it will give us true. Do you see? Let me console log that thing here, guys. Let's put it here. Let's console log this thing and see if I'm correct. See what happens, guys. Let's control copy. Let's paste it here. You see guys, it gave us true because it first of all converts this string to a number, and after converting to a number, then it now asks itself, is this 1 equal to 1, which is true? It didn't give us true. So this is us actually thinking in the brain of JavaScript and seeing the behind the scene of what JavaScript does, okay, to our code, right? Then if I to compare a 0 and false, which is a boolean, if I to compare a number which is 0 and false, which is a boolean, right? What happens, guys, based on what we already discussed earlier on, we said that if it's comparing a boolean and a number, it converts what? It converts this boolean to a number, of which before we know that true is always one. If JavaScript is comparing a boolean, true becomes one and false becomes zero, right? So therefore, since we are trying to compare a boolean and a number, it now convert this zero, of course, will definitely stand, and then it now convert this false to zero again, because false is converted to zero. So now after converting it to zero, it's now check, is zero equal to zero? Yes. Are they the same data type? Yes. So it now give us true. Do you understand? If I'm to copy this code now on my copy this code and put it on my console to give us true. So guys, do you see the logic behind this? Do you see the logic? Same thing applies for the string. If I'm comparing an empty string and false, right? Let me just do that. Let's compare an empty string. This is an empty string. An empty string. If you compare an empty string, right, and false, the boolean false, now what happens? The empty string that we have here is converted to a number. According to what we already said earlier on in the former class, although it is not here, if we're comparing an empty string with a boolean, guys, it will convert this empty string into a number, and that number is always zero. Yes, the number is now becomes zero is equal to, and also to now convert this false. As now look at it, look at what is going on now. Empty string will be converted to what? To zero. And normally a boolean is always converted to a number, of which false give us zero, right? You see? So therefore, if it converts this empty string to zero and converts false to zero as well, what would be the answer? It will give us true, because zero and zero are the same and they are of the same data type, which is number data type. Now let's console log that into our code. Let's console log that into our code. Let's console log this string, empty string, and a boolean. Let's put that here. Guys, do you see? Do you see why I gave us for and true? So guys, this example I've been given illustrates how using loose equality can lead to unexpected results. That is this thing, this equality sign, this double equal sign, which is called loose equality, it normally leads to unexpected results. Alright, it leads to unexpected results. That is why it is not really reliable if you are trying to make a very strict or genuine equality or comparison. Alright, it can lead to unexpected results due to this type correction, like type conversion. So it is essential to be very cautious and very careful if you are making use of this operator, because it can create confusion in your code. That's the truth, due to all this conversion and the rest. Alright, so it's more advisable to use the strict equality sign, which is this. This is the strict equality, that's triple equal sign. It's called the strict equality, right? That is why it is advisable to make use of the strict equality sign. Now this strict equality sign, guys, is what is used to check if two values are equal without performing any type conversion. Remember that first loose equality, that's the double equal sign, is used to check if two things are equal, right? If they are equal, and before you can check that particular thing they are equal, it has to first of all convert those things first before checking if they are equal. But with this strict equality, it does not care about conversion. It just goes straight to the point and check if they are the same or not. If they are not the same, it brings you false. If they are the same, it gives you true. That's simple. But it's very strict. It does not bother converting. There's no room for it to convert anything. Do you get? So this means that both the value and the type must be the same for the comparison to return true. Unlike the loose equality, even if the type and the value are not the same, it will first of all convert them before checking if they are the same. But for strict, it does not compare at all. the both the type and the value must be the same for it to return true. If not, it will return false. Okay, it will return false. So why use strict equality? Why should you use strict equality? You should use strict equality because it helps you to avoid many of the pitfalls that is connected with type coercion, that is type conversion. Because that type conversion that we have been experiencing when we have been using the double, or rather the double equal sign, or rather this loose equality, there are a lot of pitfalls, a lot of disadvantages making use of, because you may not end up, you can get unexpected results. But if you make use of this strict equality, you'll be able to avoid those unexpected behaviors. Alright. So if I should change this guy now, let me go to my code and change it. If I should go to this guy now and change this thing to what? To equal sign, like strict equality sign. And then I come here, I paste this code on my console. I paste it here, right? So what happens, guys? It gives us false because this is a number. This guy has seen here. This is a number data type, right? And this false is a Boolean data type. So number and Boolean are not the same. So it doesn't care about converting them. It just tells you that this thing you are showing to me, the left hand side is a number, the right hand side is a Boolean. So there and four, they are false. It is false. Simple as ABCD. I don't care about converting it. As far as they are not the same data type, they are false. You get? That's what the strict equality does. Alright. So for a summary, guys, for a summary of all we've learned today, just to make you recap everything that we are doing. So okay, apart from it being able to top, like there's no type conversion, you can also, like, both the type and value of the operands must be identical for it to return true. And then strict equality provides more consistent and expected outcomes in comparison. So if I compare two things with a strict equality sign, right? I compare two things with strict equality and it gives me true. Omo, it is actually true because in that particular comparison did not experience any type coercion or type conversion. But and if it gives me false, it is actually, I'm actually strictly believe it because it did not actually experience any type conversion. So using strict equality, I'm able to get a very extremely 100% predictable result. Alright, and get a more predictable result. So going forward, guys, going into type coercion in depth, we can actually write JavaScript codes and convert them into appropriate data types that we need. Do you get? Now let's say for instance, the first thing like that we want to concatenate a string and a number. Right? Now let's go to our code and do that. Now let's say for example we want to concatenate a code, a string and a number, whereby we have the string called let's say Julia plus 1. That means we are concatenating a string and a number, right? Now instead of our code to throw us an error, guy, are you listening to me? Instead of this code to throw an error like many other programming languages would have done, JavaScript will convert this number you are seeing, that number 1, into a string and concatenate it with Julia. So it's now become Julia 1. So this is actually how concatenation works. You know, you hear me saying concatenation, whereby if you are making use of this plus operand here, guys, it will not give you error, but it will give you Julia 1. That's because it's what actually JavaScript does. The logic behind this concatenation of using this plus operator is what actually happens is that the JavaScript will convert this number 1 into what? It will convert this number 1 into a string 1. That means it's now become, instead of it to become just do it, it's now become Julia plus 1. should then concatenate or rather convert this number one to become string one. That is the logic behind concatenation. So when you see people when you see that you are able to concatenate a number and a string without having an error, this is why it happens. That is because your JavaScript has actually converted that number one, that number data type into a string and then give you an answer. So this flexibility allows us for quick development, but it can also lead to confusion when you expect different behavior based on your understanding of data type. Alright? So some common mistakes that you can encounter with equality comparison is that number one of the most common mistake is using loose equality instead of strict equality. Now when you make use of loose equality instead of strict equality, you can experience unexpected results because of this type conversion. Alright. So we should always make sure that we are sure of the equality sign we want to use. If you want to use the loose equality, that's the double, that's this one. If you want to use this one, that's the double, that's what we call the loose equality sign. Just know that you are going to experience type conversion on that your comparison. Just know that for sure. But if you want to use this other one, this strict equality sign, just know that you are going to experience a strict equality in the sense that there would not be any type conversion. Alright. Also, developers sometimes overlook data types algorithms when comparing values. So it is very good to be mindful of what type you are working with before performing comparison. You have to be mindful of the kind of type of cohesion, type of data that you are working with before you make use of this equality sign, right? You have to be sure. These are the common mistakes I just mentioned. And then for conclusion, guys, always prefer using the strict equality sign by default. Like always prefer using the strict equality unless you have a specific reason to use the loose equality. Always use the strict equality. And because this practice would help ensure that your comparisons are clear and predictable. Alright? That is why it is preferable to always use the strict equality. That's the triple equality sign. Alright? Also be mindful of data types. That means before doing any comparison, get in mind or be mindful of the type of data that you want to use. Are you using a boolean and a number data type? Are you using a string? Are you using an object? Are you using an array? Be mindful of the kind of data that you are using. And as well, test your code thoroughly. Test your code thoroughly in order to catch any unintended behavior related to type conversion or incorrect use of equality operators. That means consider writing your code first, applying it on your console before actually putting it into your code directly in your VSC. Alright? So guys, to wrap up today's class, we have discussed equality in JavaScript. We have gone in depth into it, and we've discussed that we have two types of equality. We have the loose and the strict equality, and we've also concluded that it's always best to make use of the strict equality so as to avoid type coercion or type conversion and have a more predictable code. As you continue with your journey in JavaScript, guys, please do keep on practicing. Keep on practicing this concept through coding exercises and real world applications. And in case you have any questions or you have any confusion somewhere, please do leave them in the comment section and I will do well to reply to them as soon as possible. Have a wonderful day and I'll see you in the next class. Happy coding.